Grace is a ministry of the Daughters of Charity, and so part of our tradition is that we always start our meetings with a reflection. And today's reflection is going to be given by Sister Betty Marie Dunkel, who's a member of the Daughters. And I just got to give you just a quick background. Daughters of Charity have been providing social services, healthcare, education services for 350 years. 160 of them here in California. And listen, you can't make this stuff up. The Daughters started the first hospital in California, originally located literally across the street at where Union Station is now. In addition to hospitals and healthcare, the Daughters have 10 schools, affordable housing facilities, senior housing, a residential treatment facility, Maryvale, for foster children requiring intensive services, residential treatment facility for drug-addicted pregnant women and young mothers, a couple of early childhood education programs, and the largest private Meals on Wheels program in the United States. And Sister Betty Marie herself has a very substantial background in social services. She was director of a residential treatment facility for children with developmental disabilities, and then later was the longtime director of Maryvale Residential Treatment for foster children. She now has oversight over all of the Daughters' social service ministries in California and many of the western states. Sister Betty Marie.
Good morning. I want to thank each of you for coming from whatever distance you may have come. I did a little bit of those western states globetrotting this week. I began last week driving to Gallup from Phoenix, where it was 6 below zero when we were feeding the homeless in a drop-in center that was started because people were let out of the shelter at 6 a.m. in below zero weather. And so they come and they get food, and it was corn dogs. But each day is something different, but the people loved it and they really appreciated it. And from there I went to the reservation in Tuba City, where we have a food bank that goes out and serves the remote areas on the reservation, where especially young children and elderly would have very little food. And then I passed back through, coming through and staying with our sisters in Phoenix, where we run an inner city school that children ordinarily wouldn't be able to afford the tuition, but the school is supported, sponsored by the Daughters of Charity, as are 9 other inner city schools. And Conway mentioned the history, and it is fitting that the Daughters started just 2 blocks from here in 1856. We started in San Francisco in 1852. We were the first orphanages in both places. LA had 4,000 people when we came. And as the Cardinal had said once, it took 10 hours to get from San Pedro to the plaza, and in bad traffic, it feels like that now. Conway did take my Pope quote in terms of poverty being a scandal, but one thing that's wonderful about this Pope is he's giving a lot of feeds to the situation of the poor in the world, feeds that allow us at meetings like this to reflect on our responsibility. I read somewhere that we are the first society with the capacity to end poverty, to end hunger. And so if we have that capacity, we have that obligation. And then if you Google reflections on poverty, which I was doing at 3 this morning, but you'll get that throughout the world. There are groups like this that are meeting, from the UN groups to a group in England, End Hunger Now, I think it was called, that's just that we have some momentum behind us, and I believe God is calling us to act now. The Daughters of Charity were founded 380 years ago. This is a momentous year, that 3-year. We have 50 years since Mr. Kennedy was assassinated. We have 45 years since Dr. King was killed. And we have Mr. Mandela this year. We have President Obama elected again, who reflects a commitment to people who are poor. And we have a Pope who just started in the year with the 3 on it, who is changing the way people look at each other and we look at religion. Because we were taught, you know how you can go somewhere and they'll say you can come to this party if you have 2 cans to bring for the poor? Well, Matthew 25 tells us what our 2 cans are. You serve the poor, you give food to those who are hungry, you clothe the naked. And I think he probably would have said now, and you educate a politician. Thank you.